Well, my name is Rael Isacowitz. I'm the founder and director of Pilates, and let's just speak. I could relate to so much of what you were saying. I loved what you said about your friend who's a martial artist, studies jiu-jitsu, and that very wise comment about us, about him always being a white belt.
Yes.
And I say very much the same in the Pilates world, that, when we are students, it's a choice to study. When we become teachers, it's our obligation and commitment to continue being perpetual and eternal students. We must have a thirst, a hunger for knowledge and for study, and in so doing to always maintain humility and be humble in the midst of knowledge. And we are infants in all that we do.
Absolutely. It would be interesting to hear somebody pause somebody when they say they want to be a teacher and say, wait a minute, if you want to be a teacher, recognize that you are committing to a lifelong of learning, not just to this weekend certification sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Like, we need to have more of that conversation. Have you ever sat someone down and said, you actually are not ready to be a teacher because you're not thinking generationally with your learning?
I absolutely have, Martin. I honestly have. Certainly in the context of people wanting to become faculty, faculty, we've got 100 faculty that I'm so proud of that are spread around the globe. And
100.
to become faculty, it's not just, hey, I would like to be faculty. Okay, go out next weekend and start teaching. The path to becoming BASI faculty is rigorous. It's a long journey. It's rigorous. And even at the end, when people have met all their commitments, I've sat down with people and said, I don't think this path is right for you. You can do many other things, but I don't think you're instilling the right culture in that. I'm not sure when you take on that title as teacher, you must take on the title as student. You must. That is required. And yes, I have had those conversations, actually. I think that title teacher scares me just as much as the title master trainer, master teacher. That scares me even more. But even just teacher, because people, it almost gives, not all people, but some people permission to elevate themselves above others. And I feel we need to be there to serve others as teachers, to serve
That's true leadership.
Serve our students. Yes, absolutely. Leaders are there to serve people, not to elevate themselves.
Right. But you can see by the flip side, just from the quick window into the BASI world over the last few days, as I'm just diving a little bit deeper in what you do, community is addictive. People want to belong, and you have a beautiful community that if you're on the outside, it looks really beautiful to be in. So I could see why someone would say, I want to be a master trainer. I want to be a teacher trainer with this BASI family. Absolutely.
Well, Martin, I'm pleased you see that. And I venture to say that if you immerse yourself in this community, or I regard it as family, I think you will feel it in an even more profound way. I am so proud of it. By far, that is what makes me the proudest. Far beyond the education, is which of course I regard as very important and fundamental to who we are. It is the community. It is the family, Martin. A family of a rainbow of people. A rainbow of people. And the love, the embrace, the acceptance, the support, all those virtues are not only prevalent, but they run strong and deep within
Yes.
our family and within our community. And that by far is what makes me the most proud of
I
who
can
we
tell.
are. It doesn't need to be the biggest. It is not a competition of best. It is simply to perpetuate love, acceptance, support. This is what we're about.
Yes.
And I just love our family. I do.
There's a saying that I explained. I used to teach at a big box gym and do the training for their trainers for personal training. And I explained to them my continuum and my relationship with my clients. So I say these strangers become your clients, right? And I would say that your clients become your acquaintances become your friends, and your friends become your family. So over the years working with these people that I would train, they're moving along this journey to a place where they're truly family. You walk with them. You're training them through having their children. Like sometimes you're hearing about them expecting before they told their family because it's going to impact the way that we do our training today, but they haven't told anybody. We're on the inside with many of these people. So as we dive deep on the word community for a second, Rael, how would you differentiate between community and family? Like what's the difference crossing over into family?
Oh, that's a great question. I just loved that lineage that you portrayed, and I think along that lineage is the line that you cross from community to family. And I think it is when you start becoming part of people's families, when you see them have their own children, when their
Yes.
children become like your children. When
Yes.
I say to my son, he's 20 now, and I say, Elon, he's grown up in this family. He knows
Yes.
that he can go anywhere in the world, and he has a bed, he has a meal, he will be hugged, he will be loved, he is loved. And
Yes.
that's Martin, that's family. And people know that they can send their kids to me, they can stay with me.
Amazing.
That is family. I know what's going on in their lives. I know what's going on with their parents. I know what's going on with their kids. They can lean on me. They can cry on my shoulder, and they
Yes.
can laugh with me. We share dinners together. We break bread together. We
Mm-hmm.
can laugh together. We can cry together. That
Yes.
is the difference. Community is a wonderful thing,
Yep.
but it's somewhat removed.
Yes. There's a different
Whereas
level of
family is a much more intimate experience.
intimate. I was just going to say there's a different level of intimacy there. Absolutely. And transparency and vulnerability that comes with that. Like you said.
I love that word, Martin, vulnerable.
Yes.
When you can be vulnerable, that means you trust. And
Yes.
that spirit of trust, that you find in families, not
Yes.
necessarily in a community, again, which communities are wonderful. I
Sure.
live in a community, but I can't say I love everyone, I trust everyone. And,
Yes.
and by the way, I just loved your intro where you said, you know, you described what did you call it? Insta famous.
Insta famous. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, forgive my ignorance about
That's
Instagram,
okay.
but
That's,
what
you're
you
probably better
described,
off being like, yes.
what you described there has no resemblance to my career whatsoever. Having this plan of I want to be a studio owner, I want to have a big studio, I want to travel the world, I want to have so many followers, I want to, Martin, I didn't plan any of it, I didn't envision any of it. I started literally teaching. I didn't even think I'd start a teacher training program, but
Really?
it started in Australia. I was directing a dance department in a performing arts college school, and I had a converted classroom as a studio that the students would come in and do Pilates, and people started coming from the outside community and athletes and dancers. I had spent years dancing myself, and there were three people that I was teaching: a physiotherapist, a dancer, and an actress. And they happened to kind of meet each other, and they were coming in for a long time, and they asked, could I teach them to be teachers? Could I train them? Could they apprentice with me? And it started with these 3 people, and I never, ever had these visions of having this huge community, of having, of traveling the world. I traveled the world a lot since I was a kid, just by virtue of my upbringing. But these lofty goals, I never dreamed of them, honestly.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, because what I heard and what you just said there about it started with these 3 people. It started with those 3 people, but really it started with you saying yes to those 3 people. And a lot of times we are too scared to say that first yes.
I think that saying yes, particularly saying yes to something that's quite unknown, it takes, I think, an adventurous spirit. It takes a certain level of confidence in yourself and in those people.
Yes.
And it does take vision, but vision does not necessarily mean Insta famous and travel the world. Vision just means, wow, these 3, I've been an educator for many years. So I had been on faculty in a college, a phys ed college. I taught in schools, I taught in dance companies and small dance studios. So education is so part of my being. It's in every fiber of my being.
Yes.
So to share knowledge and to share my experience with these 3 beautiful women, just incredible women, it inspired me. And I wanted to do it, and we did it, and that planted the seed for what Bassi is today. And, it's possibly because my life took me to 5 different continents, and Bassi has always had an international feel. And it was always about any religion, any gender, any body type. Anyone can do it.
Yes.
And everyone can be part of it. And that's been part of my genealogy, part of my being since I can remember my first memories as a child.
And it sounds so natural. That was one of the conversations I had earlier this week, where there's people that have to pencil that into their mandate to welcome everybody. And there's people that just have that in the fiber of their being, because family can look like anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just remember growing up like that, in a home like that.
Yes.
My parents were like that. Your door was always open. Someone walked in, there was always food. They were always offered hospitality. And that hospitality that I grew up with, I've tried to extend it to my larger family, which spans the globe. And I'm just so blown away at how diverse the family is, and the efforts that people make. Martin, since we all have spent so much time online as we're doing now, I was very skeptical, to tell you the truth, when COVID started, and as a faculty we started talking about taking our education online or more online.
Yes.
I was very skeptical, but I have been blown away by how powerful it has been to be teaching a course and having people in Korea starting at 3 a.m. and then going through the night into the morning. Some in Europe logging on at 10 and then going into the early hours of the morning, doing a hard math class at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning. I mean, if that commitment, if I ever feel tired or fatigued, I just remind myself what people are doing and what students are doing. And I just feel I have no right to be tired or to slow down.
That's so inspiring. Now, it's so easy to talk about those warm fuzzy stories and those success stories, and we open talking about trust. Can you share a time that you were burnt or that you put that trust out there and it blew up in your face, and how you handled that? Because like we always hear those sexy stories, but people don't always get to hear those challenging, how did I get through when I did put my heart out there and someone stamped on it type moments.
Oh, Martin. Yeah, I have many. I'm not shy to say it.
Yeah,
I have many. Probably sharing these stories over a beer or a bottle of wine would be more appropriate. But, you know, I have many of those stories where I feel that I've been taken advantage of, and I'm sure that I haven't always behaved in ways that today make me proud. I probably should have handled situations differently. I have no doubt about that. But I think what one of the hardest things for me is when I see credit not being given when credit is deserved.
Yes.
And when work that I have created, this wonderful program, is just taken, given another label, and then the exact same work is taught under another name or another label. So, you know, I've been burned many times, and I can say that I've had far more successes than those times of being burned. I you know, can probably count them on two hands, whereas the wonderful, warm and fuzzy stories are multiple and multiple and multiple. But they are hurtful. Martin, there's no doubt about it. Some are such deep cuts that I don't know whether they will ever heal completely. But I do try and handle even those difficult situations with an open heart, and would always be happy to sit with those very same people, always.
Yes.
And just have an open conversation and say, you know, why did you decide to do that?
Yes.
And it's from the biggest things like taking an entire program to small things like seeing exercises, the choreography of things that I may teach in my legacy program, and then seeing it, you know, being performed on YouTube or something with no credit. I don't mind people doing things. I love that. Just credit the source. Like when we write a book, you mentioned Brooke Seiler. She's written amazing books. I've written a few books. The greatest thing to do in a book is credit the source. You have to credit the source.
Yes.
You legally have to do it. And so that's what makes a book, gives it its credibility. By looking at the back, looking at the bibliography, looking at the resources, where did this person get their information? That's what gives it credibility. It gives me no end of joy to say who I studied with, where I got ideas. I didn't just get it out of the heavens. It didn't fall. It was instilled in me by wonderful, wonderful teachers who I was influenced by. And I want to speak about those teachers because that gives me credibility. It sheds a positive light on me. So it always confuses me when people hesitate to say where they got something, whether they like me or not. It does, even if they've moved on, they don't like me. But you have to say, this is where I got it. You can even say, I don't particularly like him.
I hate this guy, but I learned it. Right, exactly. Well, that's a humbling, sober response to say that. There's people out there that don't like me, but that it's good that you can do that, because that's the reality. Like we can't, you know, as much as you had this warm fuzzy family thing. Yeah, sometimes, you know, not everyone's gonna like us. So, but what you just said there, Rael, it makes so much sense to me, because as I was looking at one of the introductions that you did on your Instagram there, you said, you know, this is so-and-so, you are in good hands with her. And at the back, there's this person. And there's this person over there, wave. And there's this person who is doing this for us. And downstairs, there are these people. And over there, and you went on for like 5 minutes crediting people. It wasn't just like, thanks for having me, good luck today. You took your time and by name, you mentioned everybody and you recognized what they were doing. And so that makes total sense. We just said there about that cut from someone not giving credit. And by contrast, you, even though you know, this is your empire, these are the people that really are what make this move. And here they are by name, by position. Beautiful. I amongst everything else, that was one of the things that I did recognize. And I thought that, like Carrie Miller Pilates just said, that is incredible that we do that.
We have to, Martin. It's never about one person. Never.
Thank you. Yeah.
Never. It's never about one person. And I love shedding the light on those that not only allow me to do what I do, but they facilitate it. I could never do what I do
Right.
without the incredible people around me. Of course, first and foremost, my wife, who puts up with me every day. But then we joke about my work wife, and everyone knows that Stella, because including my wife, she can't wait to send me off to my work wife, Stella. And I feel that Stella probably can't wait to get rid of me at the end of the day. But, you know, I joke about it, but they're two incredible women who really do, they care, you know, and they're such good friends. And, but it's many more, you know, it's
absolutely.
Stella, of course, I have so much contact with her every day, including this morning, getting here early to show me how to use Instagram. but you know, it's Latoya sitting in New York, and I know Latoya was on earlier.
She's awesome. Thank you.
Sechkin and Yasmin and you know, every one of my team here, Margie and Brandon, we spread all over. But we're a core of people that are working tirelessly every day to make people happy, to make people satisfied, to give people what they need, to lend a listening ear. And Martin, it's never about one person. Anyone who thinks it is, that's a false illusion. It is an illusion. It can never be about one person. It's always about others that support you and you support them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we spent a lot of time on the word community and family. Can I throw another word for us to talk about?
Sure.
I'm just gonna lob it out there and let you go with it. It
scares me a little bit.
I know. I'm giving you like this big lead in for this word, and I'm sure you're just gonna crush it. Movement.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? I mean, what a word. You know what I love about that word is I'm sure it doesn't translate in every language, but in English, it's got these two elements that mean so much to me personally. And you know, in 2017, I was, if you'll indulge me, just a very short story.
Absolutely.
In 2017, I was teaching at an event in Italy, in Prato, which is a beautiful little town outside of Florence, and that's where our Bassi Italy representatives who run Bassi Italy live.
Yes.
And we were having a big event, and there was a moment where a woman, Tali from Israel, was introducing herself, and there were people from all over. And at one moment, she said, "Could I give my sister Sandy from Lebanon a hug?" Now, you know, in that moment, Israel and Lebanon, two countries that are neighbors, but you cannot visit.
Right.
Yes. And this two women got up and hugged each other, and there were 100 people sitting around, and it just sent chills up and down my body. It still does.
Yes.
And Tali and Sandy embracing, to me, at that moment, flooded into my head that Bassi Pilates started by being about movement,
Yes.
and now it's become a movement. And that
Yes.
moment, because we had spent so many years analyzing movement, doing movement, teaching movement, and suddenly in that moment,
yes,
it came to me like a flash. It's become a movement.
Yes.
And wow, I tell you, Martin, since then, I've just felt, that we need to take on more social responsibility.
Yes.
We need to take on social injustices. We need to be social activists, because It's one thing when we say well-being, we teach well-being, we're teaching well-being, and we're talking about an individual, we're talking about exercise. But what about the well-being of our community? What about the well-being of society?
Right.
What about the well-being of our planet? So we need to take that word well-being and expand on that word. And you spoke about it before I even came on live. You were talking about the importance of the micro action and not only the macro.
Yes, that hyper-local and then the global. And it was just last week, Rael, that I had that same revelation that you got in 2017. Because the lady that was on was talking about movement, and she said it's a double entendre. It is movement, exercise, but then it is this movement. We are talking about this intersection of social action and fitness. And the fact that we use fitness as our language to address the bigger issues in our world. And that's beautiful. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Pilates is the vehicle.
Yes.
But the message, what message are we teaching? Now, Martin, I'm under no illusion. For some, the message is simply, I want to get some exercise and I want to look good.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine.
For that person, that's fine. For me, after over 40 years in doing Pilates, and it's taken on different meaning during different chapters.
Yes.
In 42 years, I've changed so much as an individual. And, when I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s and now well into my 60s, Pilates means something very different to me. And Bassi means something very different to me.
Yes.
And I am more inspired today by what we are doing than I've ever been. And that is because we are taking on such lofty issues.
Yes.
As, we have something called conversations in commonality, which we'll be having tomorrow.
This tomorrow.
And we take on these issues that we need to speak about. We need to take them head on.
Yes.
And not be shy to create a forum for conversations, just like you're doing. I think it's amazing. I love the name.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really beautiful name.
Thank you. That's my wife's. That's my.
Well,
there you go.
That's your wife.
That's all her. That is beautiful. I'm gonna lob you another word. Authenticity.
Wow, Martin, you've dug deep into my soul to love out these words.
Well, it's mine too. I think that's why, like, the things you're saying, they're just bouncing off of me, because movement, authenticity, connection, and just being real, all these things they are really my heart. So I'd love to hear your perspective on these things, because it just oozes out of you with everything you've already said.
Martin, authenticity is something that is so dear to my heart. I feel so so strongly about it. I mean, it's such a powerful word, authenticity, being authentic, being real. It is very closely aligned with humility. And humility, authenticity, they are such important words, and they convey such an important message. I think, you know, there was the resurgence of Black Lives Matter. And I felt there was this flurry to take action, to do things.
Yes.
And often, I'm sure it was authentic, but at times I felt it was inauthentic.
Yes.
You were doing it so that you looked a certain way. And just like you cannot fake hospitality, you cannot fake being warm, you cannot fake family, you cannot fake love, you cannot fake authenticity. It's either there, you being real, you being yourself. It's not just the words you speak, it's the actions, it's how you live your life. Authenticity is wow. I mean, you couldn't have lobbed a word that I feel more passionately about. Maybe the only word that would supersede, or not supersede it, but equal in importance is humility, but authenticity, absolutely. And each day, you know, we need to look in that internal mirror of ours and just say, am I being real? Am I being authentic? Am I being who I truly am? Or am I trying to act a role?
Right. And if I could add something to that, even for our viewers too, authenticity isn't about perfection.
No.
Right. And a lot of times we think, I'm going to be authentic, I'm going to put this out there, it has to be so polished. We make mistakes. I double book people on this show and have to apologize profusely because it's not perfect, or someone's mad at me because I missed something, or I used the wrong pronoun on somebody, or like there's an authenticity in being wrong and making mistakes, making our pivots, saying I'm sorry, and moving forward as well. It's not about perfection in that authenticity.
Martin, I'm just really quite astounded how similarly we think. So, you know, I came up with a phrase a few weeks ago. I was teaching a program. My legacy program, or our legacy program, is made up of 4 phases: mentor, master 1, master 2, and honors. And people that complete all that have studied. We've been together for years.
Yes.
And I was teaching Master 2. It was actually the one where there was a group from Korea that had logged on at 3 in the morning.
Wow.
And this one
amazing.
very inquiring woman, I knew they were awake because they were asking incredible questions. And I demonstrated something, and she said, are you supposed to be in neutral spine? And I said, well, it's the closest I could get to it. And these people know me as a perfectionist. I'm going to say a precisionist because I love precision.
Yes.
Perfection doesn't really exist. If you're going to be a perfectionist, you're, by definition, you are going to be unhappy because there's no perfection.
Right. Yes.
So you can be a precisionist. You want things to be precise.
Yes.
I said, and suddenly it came to me. I said, Sangmi, her name's Sangmi. I said, Sangmi, you need to strive for perfection, but honor intention. Or I actually, at that moment, I said, recognize intention. I'm trying my hardest. You need to be able to see the intention of my muscles. But my body at this point, that's the closest I can get. And you need
as good as it gets.
Recognize and honor my intention, even though I'm striving and you're striving for perfection or for precision. You have to honor intention. And you need to do that with your clients as well and with your students. You need to see when they are, yes, their back may not be absolutely flat, but they are recruiting their back extensors as much as they can. But that is what their body can do today. And you need to recognize it, honor it, and respect it.
Yes.
And as long as the intention is there, you are achieving your goal. So as I approach 66, and my body's a very different body to what I was 30 years ago, even 5 years ago, 2 years ago,
Yes.
because that process accelerates, Martin. I have to say more and more to myself and to others, my intention is there, even though visually from the outside, it may not look like that. You know, I'll say one more thing about that. Something that absolutely bowled me over when I first met Kathy Grant, and that was in 1991. And her and I, after this event where we met each other that we both wrote about in the preface and forward of my book. I didn't know she would write about it, and she didn't know I would write about it, and we wrote about that same event. But we met each other, and I felt that she was literally stripping me of all my, you know, probably at that time bravado and I'd been performing for years, and I thought I could perform. I thought I could get away without being authentic. And she
snipped it out
right through that.
Yes.
But what amazed me about her is she could recognize intention of muscles.
Yes.
She had this uncanny ability, even though her eyesight wasn't great at that point, she could see intention. She knew what muscles you were using before you even knew you were using those muscles, or using the wrong muscles. And that's like talent. It just struck me as beyond X-ray vision. It was like MRI vision into your body. That she could see things. And even now, so many years later, I'm realizing what she was seeing. She was seeing intention and telling you even before it happened whether your intention was on the right track or on the wrong track.
Right. And it's funny, in the thread there, you said Precisionist, and I think that there'll be a t-shirt out before the end of the day that says Precisionist on it. And while everyone's trying to make that Precisionist shirt, I'm going to make a shirt that says, I have MRI vision. Thank you. So you do your Precisionist shirts, I'm going to get my MRI vision shirt, because all these gems.
That was actually, I always give credit where credit is due.
Yes.
It was, the oddest person, no, he's not an odd person, but a strange relationship with actually an attorney that I met, that I was having some dealings with up in Oregon.
Okay.
And within such a short time, he seemed to completely suss me out and know the type of person I was. And he said, you know, you're very particular about things. And I said, yes, I'm a perfectionist. And he said, no, you're not a perfectionist. You're a precisionist.
Yes.
And I like that because of, you know, there is no perfection. There can be precision, but not perfection.
Yes, exactly. And intentionality is one of my favorite phrases as well, because whether we're talking about a movement or a person's action on a social action perspective, we're looking at where is their heart? Where are they coming from? Is it malicious? Is it performative? Is it genuine? And then you can, as I say, you can sniff that out, what their intention is and where they're coming from with every action. And I think that, as you said, with it being a movement, whether we're having that conversation, like your conversation that's happening tomorrow, or if it's just like teaching a client, we can look at the intention of what they're trying to do and move them closer to what's ideal for their body or ideal for our community. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you just talk quickly about what's happening tomorrow and your conversation you're having?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we have these conversations, and it all happened so organically. We've always been having these conversations behind the scenes between Stella and myself and others in the team. And one day, I can't remember whether it was I said to Stella or she said to me, you know, we should take these conversations public. We need to create a forum for people to share thoughts, ideas, for us to educate people, Martin.
Yes.
And I you know, during the first ones were about Black Lives Matter. And we wanted to create a platform for people to understand more about it. Where did that come from? Why Black Lives Matter? And I wanted to create a forum for it. You know, it was one thing I made a few videos of me speaking about it. But I wanted people to be able to ask questions.
And interact with it.
Interact. So we decided at that moment, I said to Stella, you know what, Stella? We've got to create this forum to educate people.
Yes.
And we started this forum called Conversations in Commonality. And I think it's been amazing, just absolutely amazing. The questions, and often, one of our guests, Brian Latoya's fiance, actually, he was our guest, special guest, and such a wonderful human being. And Brian and I were talking about being politically correct, and we both said, hey, we just respectful. We respect people. We respect topics. We don't think so much in terms of politically correct. We think in terms of being respectful and embracing and authentic, being authentic. So tomorrow we're taking on the huge topic of the LGBTQ community, and we've got a wonderful young man, Lani, who's going to be our special guest. He is a transgender individual. He happens to also be the son of a dear, dear friend of mine.
Oh, amazing.
We are going to take on this huge topic, and so much about it, Martin, is about educating. We all make mistakes. And I told the story last time about I was interviewing Candace, who is an African-American woman that works for us now. And we were doing an interview, and I was so struck by the way Candace spoke. And I just said I think of my son going for interviews. He's 20 years old. He's studying aerospace engineering. You know, we live through our kids. And when people come to me for an interview, I always behave as if that person being interviewed is my son. How do I want people to behave when they're interviewing him? Of course, I want them to be nice and kind and confident, because I love him so much. And I was interviewing Candace, and I said, wow, we were talking about Candace's parents and about her education, about what she's done. And I said, Candace, you've got to compliment your parents. And my compliments to you, you're just so incredibly well-spoken. The way you speak, the way you enunciate your words, the way the vocabulary is just so beautiful to hear. Because I meet my son's friends, and not all of them speak the way I hope to speak. And the moment I said it, I thought, I hope I didn't say anything that could be misconstrued. We finished the interview. Needless to say, I was so impressed with Candace. She now is one of our team and has been one of our team. But I immediately ran out and said, Stella, do you think I screwed up? Do I owe Candace an apology? Because I'm very willing, but did it sound as if I was surprised that she's well-spoken? I mean, I would want someone to say to Elon, go to your parents and tell them they did an amazing job. Because the way you speak confidently, you're well-spoken, and, of course, Candace and I have had many conversations since then. And, she realized immediately, and she said it to me a few weeks ago. She said, we were speaking about it. She said, Rael, I don't only hear people's words. I hear their intention and their heart. And that's, again, going back to that word of intention. So, we all make mistakes. You said it earlier. We all do things that, that was unintentional. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, but I may have said something that came out the wrong way. That's what these conversations in commonality are about. So we can understand more about the LGBTQ plus community, that we can know what they feel. We can ask questions because sometimes we just don't know.
Right.
And that's what we want to create that for.
Amazing. That's going to be a beautiful, safe space for that to happen. So love that. Thank you so much for your time today. Rael, it was just a beautiful, beautiful conversation.
You're an incredible man, amazingly good-looking man. I hope that's politically correct to say. Man, you really are a great-looking guy.
And you hear your background people laughing.
Doing amazing work out there, and you know, I'd love to meet you sometime. If you come to California, come in, we'll have a drink together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who has been listening and watching. I saw all your comments and I wanted to get them in, and we didn't come up for air once, but I wanted to let you know that thank you so much for your mentioning of intention and precisionist. Looking forward to whoever, there's gonna be a race to get a t-shirt out, I'm sure. Pilates out there, Stella's looking at it. Honoring intention. Amazing takeaways from today. Rael, I really, really do appreciate your time.
No problem. Just
Thank
always, we give credit, and you have created a wonderful platform. So all credit goes to you, Martin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.